From just outside Manhattan, the Ottawa Senators take on the New York Islanders for the third and final time this season. The Islanders are 2-0 so far this year. And there is Patrick Roy behind the bench for the Islanders. 10-7-3 since he took over. Their 6-game winning streak snapped earlier this week. They've lost back-to-back games by shutout, haven't scored in over 121 minutes.
Well, that will be the focus for them, is throw everything on Joonas Korpisalo. And a 12:30 start, so we'll see if they can get some emotion into their games right away.
I'm sure that chicken and pasta at 7 a.m. was delicious. Long point shot was blocked. Pinto got in the way of that. Shane Pinto grew up in Franklin Square, New York. Basically a driver and a wedge from here. This puck picked up by Alexander Romanov, center for former center Jean-Gabriel Pageau, who bumps into Artem Zub. Pageau comes in across the line, but the play's offside.
They're trying to find the back of the net, been shut out twice in a row.
And the chicken goes Rick White. Look out, Patrick Roy almost had to make a save there as the players who had them before, but loose rules are pretty strict, and Patrick's following them.
Yeah, a lot of discipline. You're right. Patrick Roy, when he did win the Memorial Cup, looked like David Letterman, and then now he doesn't.
In comes Giroux, drops it back to Joseph. A little slap pass across. And that bounced away from Maxence Gannett, who had jumped up for the Senators. Ottawa with back-to-back wins past regulation. Overtime winner by Drake Batherson against Pittsburgh, and then the clapper from Claude Giroux. He's done it before.
He has, and he said to us after the game that he didn't think the ice was great, so he just wanted it to set and get a shot away. But you know, he willed that into the net. He had an angry look on his face, and he hammered that. Even Elvis Merzlikins, you could see the surprise on his face. He hesitated after it was in the net.
Cizikas in on Stützle, but the puck moved up the ice by Bernard Docker, chipped back down as the Islanders go racing back.
Is he going to do this, or he's going to fake it? So that's where I think it throws off goaltenders as well, Gord.
Remember Jeff Tambellini?
Yes.
His move in the shootout was the wrist shot to the hash mark, and he was unbelievably good at it.
Again, it's more about goaltenders, their gap, their spacing, and even wondering it was a mess. So,
which is why Mick made the NHL and Jimmy didn't, I guess.
Exactly. But, you know, it works for some guys, and it worked the other night for Claude.
Kastelic fires it back in. The Islanders, as Laura mentioned, right in the thick of the playoff race in the Eastern Conference, tied with Detroit for the last playoff spot. The Islanders have a game in hand of the Red Wings, who are playing at this hour as well against Buffalo in a key game today in the Eastern Conference. Buffalo's back in the mix a little bit. Yep. Tkachuk moves in and shoots. It goes off the foot of Ryan Pulock. We got a penalty coming. It's interference against the Islanders, and so Ottawa gets the first power play, 2 minutes and 24 seconds in.
Ottawa penalty number 27. 2 minutes for interference, slashing the opponent's stick out of his hand.
From the National Hockey League.
The Islanders are an excellent first period team. Their goal difference plus 19 in the first. In the second, third, and overtime, they're minus 32.
Wow.
Minus in every single period, but plus 19 in the first.
Well, they've played a lot of overtime games.
Yeah, second most in the league. In comes Bo Horvat with it. Brock Nelson leads the way for the Islanders with 9 power play goals. Dobson to Matt Barzal. And Barzal swings back and drops that back to Dobson, to Barzal walking in. Barzal, the quarterback of this power play, moves in, slides that back down. Palmieri plays it across, and that pass just missed Nelson. Here's Horvat. Back across to Dobson for Horvat. And now back down to Barzal. Long shot by Dobson, kicked away. Nelson slides that back. Nelson into the feet of Barzal. Centers it. The pass was broken up by Giroux and sent down the ice by Zub.
And Artem Zub does a good job getting it down 200 feet. Now, Jake Sanderson earlier in the shift had an opportunity to get it down 200 feet. Tried to pop it to the middle of the ice for Claude Giroux. They ended up hemmed in the zone.
Bouncing puck now as Pageau tries to dig it free. And Ridley Gregg brings it out. Away comes Gregg, shorthanded. Played his first NHL game against the Islanders, and that long shoot-in, glove down by Semyon Varlamov, who is playing for the third time in the last 14 games for the Islanders. They got a back-to-back this weekend. They're in New York The Islanders are playing the Rangers on St. Patrick's Day in Manhattan.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong there? Just have hard liquor and baseball bat, right? And get it over with.
I don't know. That rivalry is, I mean, I've played on both sides of it, so.
Oh, centering pass for Clutterbuck. He tipped that wide. Wraparound score. Matt Martin. Just after the penalty expired, Matt Martin tucks it home. His first goal in 25 games.
I'm going to start with the dump in. Now you got to win battles along the wall. A little redirect. Clutterbuck. The puck is actually going to the slot. Clutterbuck pops it behind the net to Matt Martin. Now Korpisalo's caught on the blocker side. He can't get across. He actually gets tied up a little bit with Matthew Joseph. And Matt Martin with the wraparound into the open net. Joseph gets a chunk of it, but not enough. And the Islanders lead 1-0.
Martin in his 15th NHL season, 13th as an Islander. It's his second tour of duty with him. With a brief stay with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but now Martin back on it. And that was 2/3 of the Islanders' so-called identity line going to work there. Clutterbuck and Martin. Cizikas is not centering them now. As Chychrun moves in. That duty falls to Kyle McLean, the youngster, son of assistant coach John McLean.
And Cizikas is boosted up to that third line, but you're right, that identity line, hard to play against. They're very physical.
Now knocked down by Zuma, long wrist shot that was blocked by Martin in front. That staggered Martin. He's limping noticeably as Tkachuk tries to get free. Bouncy pucky behind the goal. They're going to call a high stick there.
Going to be a little extra this time around. I feel both sides that a lot of jockeying for position, but Eastern standings are going to be very, very tight to watch. And a big win by Tampa Bay the other night to give themselves a little bit of a separator.
What no one wants to see are 3-point games. As Pierre Engvall busts it and shoots. That goes just wide. Now a shot by Pelech goes off the skate. The last thing the Islanders want to see is Buffalo and Detroit go to OT.
I know. That is the challenge a lot of these teams are.
Holmstrom's shot that appeared to hit Cizikas up high. Knocked down, he kept alive by Dobson. Dobson didn't shoot, that goes off the skate and wide, and the puck held at the other point by Adam Pelech. Here's Engvall. Crunch there by Sanderson. Puck loose in the corner, Engvall works it free. Matthew Joseph bats that down the ice, and icing called.
Top 5 in the National Hockey League since he's taken over.
Played back in by Mike Riley. Here's Barzal with it. Matt Barzal spins back. Brock Nelson trying to work that free. Here's Horvat, had that poked away and at the line. Riley couldn't hold it. Play called offside. The Islanders, by the way, their first goal in 126 minutes of play.
The team was basically, you know, like an AHL team in junior.
You and I were in Seattle for a Kraken game, and some pro scouts said to us they felt like that Seattle Thunderbirds junior team could beat some American League teams.
That's how good, how deep they were. And Patrick Law's team, no problem.
The one blemish is coaching record in Colorado. It ended badly there, but he went back to his junior team, and here he is back in the NHL. Matt Barzal winds in. Barzal pivots back, drops it back. A hard shot powdered wide there by Riley. Brock Nelson back for Riley. Picked up on waivers last year from Florida. Riley's been a good addition for the Islanders. Lou Lamoriello has not made a lot of changes to this Islander lineup. He lost the first round last year to the Carolina Hurricanes in 6 games. Made the playoffs 4 of the last 5 years. It's an older team.
Yep. Added Bo Horvat, really, outside of that. There's been a few players here or there. It's a little bit more free reign under Patrick Law.
Donker a long shot. Valamo steers that away. 22 points in 20 games for Barzal since Patrick Waugh took over. Anders Lee stepped into Kelly, and a hand pass called at center ice, and play is called. Barzal
Upside from a talent standpoint, and he had a terrific season this year.
kind of down year for him last year.
Yep.
And the puck was held and brought up by the captain, Anders Lee, in his 12th year with the Islanders. Plays that back in. He's got 13 goals in 28 games in his career against Ottawa. In comes Batherson, streaks off the wing, little backhand shot stopped by Varlamov. And back comes Palmieri the other way. Walks in, shoots. That's the Bucks wide. He had Romanov up with him. and couldn't find him with the pass. Now Pinto sends it down the ice, and the faceoff will come right back down to the Ottawa zone.
Stick with the last second that deflects that over the glass. I thought it was Gannett, but it's Chychrun that got the stick in there at the last second.
Battle for the puck. Giroux to the line. Dobson knocked it down, but it's kicked out by Pinto. Well, lots of friends and family here this afternoon. Around to Stützle, plays it back to center ice for Giroux, but that's poked away by Dobson. Brought in now by Matthew Joseph. He shoots it, goes off the skate and wide. Brought back out by Clutterbuck. He's tied up by Giroux. And Zub knocks that puck free for Ottawa. Sends up Carolina tomorrow. And into Boston on Tuesday. Here's Engvall. Moving in on Stützle. And Stützle stripped him of the puck. Kubalik reaching for it. Knocked back in by Riley. Engvall back with it. Pierre Engvall drops that back. Aho back across for Riley that snapped his stick in half. And in comes Kubalik. Riley quickly got another from the Islander bench. And has it now behind Varlamov.
It's amazing how quick the equipment managers can grab the stick right off the bench. Riley knew right away his stick exploded. Instead of trying to stay in the play, he turned and beelined right to the bench, grabbed one, and was able to get back in the play and defend it.
Korpisalo out to play it. And Barzal trying to knock that down. Islanders have a tough stretch of schedule coming up at the Rangers tomorrow, then home to Carolina, at Detroit in a big game, and then in Winnipeg. Well, a big week for them in the middle of this Eastern Conference playoff chase.
They do have their work cut out for them, but you know they're a team that wants to be stingy with goals. They've got great goaltending. Now it's about trying to find some offense.
Now Barzal falls. Right back runners Brock Nelson. Back down to Horvat. So Horvat tries to center it. Now a centering pass. In comes Barzal. Great move, and Korpisalo snakes out the glove and makes a terrific stop.
I brought it up. He held it. All you need to do, Gord, if you make a save like that, you got to hold it up, though. Show everybody you got it in the glove. Not like Patrick, though. Remember, Patrick dropped it.
Dropped against Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. He held it up a little too long, and then Stevie Yzerman put it in the net.
Palmieri swings it across. In comes Anders Lee. Nifty move. Lee tries to shovel it towards the goal. Now Palmieri back with it. Centers it. But jumped up, and he has to retreat as Zub picks it up. Play called.
Go on for Patrick Waugh, too.
There you go. Chychrun drops it back. Here's Stützle, loose in the corner with it. Stützle spins that back at the line, but it's through the feet of Bernard Docker. He's got a also back as Nelson's bearing in on him. Horvat also lurking dangerously. And Dobson throws that ahead. Matthew Joseph flips that rink wide, picked back up by Pelech. And it's tied up there by Giroux, and now Dobson comes out the other way. Dobson made of Summerside PEI, having another good year for the Islanders. As Joseph works in, Matthew Joseph feeds that down to Giroux. He's poke check there by Pelech. Both Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock have missed more than 20 games for the Islanders in one stretch, and is 16 at the same time. As Barzal winds it and shoots, that's blocked by Chychrun.
Yeah, that's tough when you're missing those two. They're in your top four, and guys that bring offense from the back end and chew up a lot of minutes.
The Pelech and Pulock defense combination. They used to have Pulock, Pelech, Streit, Nelson, Nielsen, and McDonald.
Just like you drew it up.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Play-by-play guy's dream.
Clutterbuck, that centering pass from Martin bounced away, poked ahead by Ostapchuk, and Zach Ostapchuk looks ahead to Ridley Gregg, and in comes Ostapchuk on the forecheck on Aho. They collide hard in behind the Islander goal. Back at the point is Brandstrom. Brandstrom spins away, sends that rink wide. And that shot by Gdansk's block. Cadet has it pivot off a leg and goes back to center ice as Brandstrom comes in. Here's Pulock with it. Aho got crunched down there by Castellan. Pollock banks it back to center ice. Gannett steps up on Cizikas, a chip set by him. Kastelik comes back, and Cizikas collide hard. Cizikas pokes that back, and a quick shot off the outside of the goal by Engvall. Here's Cizikas. Plays it back to Romanov, to Pollock. Centers it, bouncing puck loose in front. Kastelik chips out ahead, and Batherson plays it back out.
That was a good battle in front by Korpisalo. He had traffic, and he punched it with his blocker past traffic in front. That's a real heads-up play by the goaltender.
Tkachuk, pumped there by Cizikas, looks ahead for Batherson. That's knocked down by Simon Holmstrom, and brought in now by Engvall. Engvall plays that back around. He's in the first year of a 7-year extension he signed with the Islanders. Lou Lamoriello not afraid to give out long contracts to players. Not necessarily the stars either.
A little farther down in your lineup, you're right. You're going to get the AAV down, but
Scott Mayfield, who's out right now, a defenseman in the first year of a 7-year deal as well. In comes Anders Lee with a shot that was blocked by Sanderson. And now back at the line, there's Dobson, his shot, stopped by Korpisalo. Another drive, this time by Pelech. And Korpisalo got a piece of that. Brought back up by Tkachuk. Drops it off to Batherson. And Drake Batherson swings it across. Zoom with a shot, saved by Varlamov. Palmieri chips it back out.
That was a little seeing eye shot. I don't know if Varlamov got a clear sight of that. There was some traffic in the high slot. He was in good position to make a save with the right pass.
Stutzler comes in after it. And the puck picked free, moved ahead by Joseph. Now Matthew Joseph has it back. Brings it back around for Stutzler, but Romanov stepped in front of that. Romanov acquired from Montreal a couple years ago. And that trade for a first and a second. That shot is blocked. Now lead pass by Joseph. He finds Stutzler. In on Romanov. And Romanov bumps Stutzler off the puck. Brought in now by Barzal. Dances in on Brandstrom. Barzal still with it. Winds back across the top. Drops that back to Aho. Riley. Back to Barzal. Ottawa will face a Sebastian Aho for 2 consecutive games this weekend. Carolina tomorrow. Here's Horvat with it. Wearing number 14 now for the Islanders after coming over from Vancouver where he wore 53. 4 + 1 is 5. 4 - 1 is 3. Gets his 53.
There you go.
But Lou doesn't like numbers over 40, so. In comes Barzal, sends it across, off the goalpost. Takes that pass from Horvat and just missed there. And Barzal's been dancing here in the first period.
Has he ever? And it's a great seam pass by Horvat to find him, but he takes a little better ice for himself, changes the angle on Korpisalo, who's able to beat him on the glove side, but not the post.
Inside 4 to go here in the opening period. There's a 1-0 lead on the goal by Matt Martin. Is back out there now for New York. At the line. Held by Pelech. A little backhand shot and a body in front. And Greg brings it back for Ottawa. Plays it back down to the Islanders zone as Dobson goes back. The 12th overall pick in the 2018 draft. Dobson had 13 goals last year. As that pass misfired from Dobson. Face off. Won by Cizikas. From Tkachuk. Battle for the puck along the near boards. Brandstrom still in on it. Holmstrom kicking at him, and Engvall finally plays it out. Back goes Zub. Another icing call against the Islanders. The 2 icings off the draw. Tkachuk wins that back and poked out by Holmstrom. And now Dobson, as everyone else changes, works in. He's been out there longer than anyone, but he plays it back in. And he'll make his way off as Sanderson has it back for Ottawa.
You mentioned Noah Dobson's got 64 points this season in 65 games, so he's been at a point-a-game clip. He's got a heavy shot from the back end, and he's an offensive guy who's not shy to jump into the play. Fill him full of sugar.
Yeah, let's go.
That's awesome.
Joseph up for Stutzler. Now played back around. Joseph back around to Giroux at the point, held by Chychrun. Now Chychrun places back across. Gannett shoots. Save Varlamov. Rebound. Sat there for a moment. Finally picked up by Pulock. He banks it off the glass and back to center. Chychrun jumping ahead. Goes out towards the goal. Just missed the stick of Giroux. Back comes Horvat the other way, winding in. Drops it back for Brock Nelson. He's poke checked there by Zub. Nelson took it away from Zub, and they're going to call, I believe, a penalty here. Holmstrom is tied for the league lead with 5 shorthanded goals.
Head scratcher for sure.
Sanderson drops it down to Stutzler to Sanderson. Sanderson wheels across and fires, and Varlamov got a piece of that.
Struggling, you do have to have a shooter's mentality on the power play.
That is allowed 1 on that 4-0 loss to Buffalo on the Sabres power play. Here's Chychrun having a look, shoots, and Varlamov makes the stop. Now off the draw, bang back down the ice by Pulock. Varlamov, another guy signed to a long contract. First year of a 4-year deal for the 35-year-old. Now Chychrun a shot, that went just wide. Batted down by Pelech. Now the puck moved back at Pajot. Almost had a chance there. He's been dangerous shorthanded as well this year.
I feel like he's been dangerous shorthanded his whole career. He's good defensively, very responsible.
There's Ridley Gregg, drafted with a first-round pick that Ottawa got for Jean-Gabriel Pajot. At the point, helped by Sanderson. Swings it back across to Giroux. So Giroux walks in. There's the clapper. He shoots off the leg and pinballs around. And Giroux bats at it. Clutterbuck busting ahead. That's knocked away neatly by Brandstrom. In comes Pinto for Kubalik. Time winding down here in the period as Cizikas has it and sends it down the ice. And Ottawa will have 17 seconds of power play time to carry into the second period. Pajot in his 5th year with the Islanders. Seems hard to believe.
It does.
The trade was that long ago. Chuck bats that ahead. Takes a return pass from Batherson. That shot was off a leg and wide. Now Tkachuk wins the battle for the puck. Feeds it back to Chychrun. Final seconds of the power play. Nelson steps back on. Sanderson feeds that back down. A sharp angle shot taken there by Batherson. Rolls through the crease after hitting the pipe. 2 shots on goal for Ottawa on that power play. Batherson back to Chychrun. Chychrun, nifty pass back to Batherson. Shoots. It goes off the leg of Nelson. Just out of the box. Batherson gets it back. Feeds it back across. Tkachuk just missed on that. And a good flurry here by Ottawa to start the second period. Now it's offside at the Senators' blue line.
A couple good looks for Drake Batherson in tight on the power plays. He did a good job of changing his angle. Back at the point, Batherson, a little shake and bake, fakes the shot and then gets down low, steps out, tries to throw it backdoor for Tkachuk. Tkachuk heals that puck. But Drake Batherson certainly moving his feet on that power play, looking to create.
Here's Horvat on it for Barzal. That pass missed. Brock Nelson is looking for his 3rd consecutive 30-plus goal year. He's at 29 now. Member of one of USA Hockey's royal families. His uncle Dave Christian, a member of the 1980 U.S. Olympic team. His grandfather, his great uncle, remembers the 1960 gold medal winning team. Now Matthew Joseph with a sharp angle shot goes off the outside of the net. Here's Nelson back on it. And they gave up the first goal in this game for the 15th time in the last 20 games. Kubalik as they go off the stick. Ottawa's winning Columbus on Thursday, ended a 7-game road winless streak as well.
Well, they stuck with it, and Anton Forsberg was brilliant early in the 3rd.
In comes Engvall, drops that back, and the shot by Cizikas goes off a leg and wide as Chychrun got in the way. Chychrun very high off the glass. That was inches away from going out. Now Bernard Docker on it. That clearing attempt knocked down by Holmstrom. Engvall drops that back to Aho. Aho shoots and just missed the stick of Cizikas there. Engvall with it. Back around to Holmstrom. Holmstrom centers it, and that pass is picked off by Kubalik and chipped back to center ice.
Good work by Dominic Kubalik to sag back into the middle of the ice to take away that seam pass.
Nick Ball stretches that back in for the Islanders. Now back to New York again. And
Many games this season where they've been in good control and maybe some adversity happens within the game and they're unable to get it back on the rails and they end up leaving the 2 points on the table.
penalty coming to Ottawa now as it chipped back down to the Senators zone. Korpisalo back to play it. And with 2:53 gone in the second period, the Islanders are going back to the man advantage. That's Kubalik going off.
Yeah, it's going to get a hooking call.
Ottawa penalty number 81, 2-minute minor for hooking.
Been quite opportunistic, and here another opportunity here on the power play.
Islanders had one shot in their first power play. Here is Riley on it. Second unit up there for the Islanders as Pajot has his shoot-in block by Parker Kelly. And Giroux lays it back down as Varlamov steers that away.
Giroux with that little short hop in front of the goaltender. He likes those
He does like
from
that.
distance, yeah. He beat Logan Thompson in
Yes,
Vegas.
he did. Yeah, little skipper. Whatever you can do to torment the goalies, all good.
You're all for it.
All
I know
good
you
by
are.
me. Yeah. Get in their kitchen and start cooking. Joseph a shot up the outside of the goal, shorthanded. Horvat winds back in. The top power play comes on now for the Islanders. Korpisalo steers out away, and Horvat got a crack at that and put it wide. Barzal trying to pick it out. Now Matt Barzal back with it. Banks that back to Palmieri. Feeds that back to Thompson. A nice tip of the high slot by Horvat. Good save there by Korpisalo.
That was a really good save by Korpisalo, but a really good executed play on the power play. That high tip with Horvat in the slot. Dobson was able to hit his stick perfectly.
Yeah, I wonder where Horvat learned that in Vancouver. Back of the line is Barzal winds around Kelly. Matt Barzal still on it. And Barzal pivots back, nifty move, drops it back, Dobson in, shoot! That was blocked and sent down the ice by Kelly.
Kelly with a big block there, but he actually had Tim Stützle on a potential breakaway. If he would have seen him, could have just led him into open ice. Stützle was the first guy on the puck on the forecheck, doing a good job killing off precious seconds.
At the line, held by Bernard Docker, just sidestepped the check there from Holmstrom. That's brought up by Nelson. One shot for the Islanders on that power play as well. Nelson feeds across. Horvat with a shot. And Korpisalo makes the save.
Arsenal get looks at the net.
Back at the line, there's a long shot by Pulock.
We talked about a couple games ago head-to-head against Sidney Crosby, those two have been going at it for years.
In comes Batherson, plays that rink wide for Pinto. Here's Pelech back on it. The Chuck stepped into Holmstrom and again gave him a shove. He gets knocked down by Cizikas. The other issue for Horvat getting 53, of course, is that Cizikas had it, which was grandfathered in here on the island. But Cizikas on the forecheck now as Bernard Docker plays out ahead. Cizikas pokes out ahead to Lee. And there's Lee. Spins back, feeds across, and that pass just missed. Romanov coming off the bench. There's Romanov. In comes Pajot on Bernard Docker. Banks it back. Romanov feeds it back across to Dobson. Shoots! And the glove save made.
Milbury left me behind when I went to say hello to a couple family members. I had to catch the... I had to jump in with the trainers after I caught a cab. We were chartering out in a snowstorm after the game. It was ridiculous.
Nobody left you.
Yeah, just left me. No problem.
Not the first or last questionable move by Milbury here with the Islanders.
That's true.
There were a few. He dealt away a few Hall of Famers in a day. Rolo Longo.
Maybe he didn't like my game. I mean, I think we tied 3-3. It wasn't like it cost us any points, but I remember chasing the bus through the parking lot. That was a long run. And I lost the race.
There's Riley back for it. 7 gone here in the second period. And they still lead 1-0. Brock Nelson drops it off to Matt Barzal. Back for Nelson, feeds it across. And that shot from Horvat was blocked by Zub.
Great position by Zub on the back door to get in the lane at least, because it was a one-timer, and that looked like it had a little daylight on the short side on Korpisalo.
Sabres a 1-0 lead on the Red Wings. And now 1-1 in Detroit. So a game that the Islanders and others in the Eastern playoff case will be watching. Almost a steal there by Giroux on Aho. Now picked up by Gregg, who feeds it back in for Stützle. Picked back out by Sebastian Aho, and Giroux steps into him. Bouncing puck in the high slot. Stützle reaching for it. It's knocked down by Horvat. And Sanderson puts it back across to Tkachuk, but it plays offside.
Wow. Mr. Bill Torrey is a general manager, and then yes, we got leaner near the end with Mike Milbury taking over, and we had the fisherman jersey, which was very polarizing in this area. I still, I still love the jersey because I loved my gear with it, but we weren't the best team. And
Ranger fans chanting, "We want fish sticks."
Yes, it
was one of those jerseys.
Bit of a grind there, but we went back to the original traditional jerseys that the fan base loves.
Nassau Veteran Memorial Coliseum, not far from here. As Pinto winds in, shoots off the end of the stick of Varlamov. In the late 70s and early 80s, the Coliseum was known as Fort Neverlose. Well, the Islanders were formidable at home, and of course, won an NHL record 19 straight playoff series between 1980 and 1984.
And that's a dynasty. And a lot of, when I first joined the organization, there were a lot of those former players kicking around. Butch Goring, Billy Smith, John Tonelli, Clark Gillies.
Butch is still here as a color commentator. Ken Morrow still scouts for the Islanders.
Yep. They just need to be around them.
That 19 series playoff streak ended by the Edmonton Oilers in the 1984 Stanley Cup Final. Romanov played off the back of the net. Puck turned over, and Kastelic almost cashed there.
A good forecheck by Mark Kastelic to be heavy on that puck, and it was a poor exchange between Varlamov and Romanov.
And now Sanderson sends it in as Pulock goes back. Got it there by Kelly. Played back around the line, held by Zub. Artem Zub pokes out to Tkachuk. Tkachuk off balance shoots. That's blocked by Cizikas. And Romanov plays it back ahead to Casey Cizikas. Set back down the Islander zone. Here's Pajot on it. Gabriel Pajot plays that back around, picked up by Sanderson. Pajot stepped into him. And Giroux banks it back out. Pelech up for Pajot, who chips that back down to the Ottawa zone as Chychrun goes back. Brought in now by Stützle. Winding in, Tim Stützle with the shot. Varlamov save. Loose puck for a moment. Gregg trying to dig it free. And Varlamov has it.
Tied this game up.
Chychrun looks ahead for Giroux. That's knocked away by Horvat. Rolls back down to the Ottawa zone as Bernard Docker goes back to pick it up. Back down, nicely waved off as Varlamov leaves it there for Pelech. Gets tied up by Stützle. Giroux jumps ahead. Here is Stützle, centers it. And Gregg couldn't get the shot away. Back at the point is Chychrun across to Stützle. At the line, Bernard Docker has to retreat. Gregg with Stützle and Giroux there. And now a collision in center ice. Stützle collided with Chychrun. Tkachuk now out with Pinto and Batherson as Pelech plays that rink wide for Dobson. Up ahead for Engvall. Now brought in by Batherson. Chips it ahead. Tkachuk in, shoots, scores! Brady Tkachuk on the feed from Batherson, and the game is tied at 1.
Brandstrom up the wall. Batherson, here's a little backhand chip. Now you're going to lead Tkachuk. Just a little saucer play there, right onto his stick, and it's off the backhand, onto the forehand, underneath the bar immediately. Varlamov is late on the play, and Tkachuk, that got underneath the bar in a hurry, Gord, and we got a tie game.
That thing was in the net for a nanosecond.
It was. It's a bomb.
There left me aren't any photos of that puck in the net. And so Brady Tkachuk has his 28th of the year. And Ottawa is tying it up here in the second period. And that is a goal that will reverberate in out-of-town scoreboards, most notably in Detroit. Joseph plays it back in, and Pulock back to pick it up. And Romanov swings by. Romanov comes from Russian hockey royalty. His grandfather, Zinatula Bilyaletinov, a legendary Soviet defenseman, also went on to become the head coach of their national team.
Well, that is royalty. He's a good young player.
Now back at the point, shot by Sanders and kicked up by Varlamov, and Joseph reaches for the rebound. Joseph now with a step leak, so Jacques Martin making a little adjustment on the lines here. Back at the point is Zub. Sanderson tees it up and shoots. Varlamov to stop on that. Brought up by McLean. Joseph tied up by Lee. Anders Lee works it free. Zub steps in him. And a stop jump up for Joseph. He finds Kelly jumping in on Aho. And Aho sends Kelly flying. Laid back around to Pajot. Pajot banks that pass in for Palmieri, but racing back is Bernard Docker to pick it up. Now here's Kastelik. The chip sends it back in. It's knocked down by Riley.
You mentioned Jacques Martin just tweaking the lines a little bit, just looking for a little something, but the Sens have had a real nice start here to the second period, and the Brady Tkachuk goal has gone to their legs.
And Captain continues to climb the charts, looking to catch Mike Fisher. That would be nice if he could do that this season. Just past Radek Bonk.
Still is. His son Oliver is a first-round pick of the Flyers. Shots at 8 for Ottawa here in the second period. The Islanders have just 9 shots. Tighter for Carolina playing tonight.
Yeah.
Bouncing around between the benches. The Senators should be home by about
Clock type of thing, so it is a quicker turnaround for the Hurricanes.
Trey Anderson not playing tonight against Toronto, so we'll likely see him tomorrow against Ottawa. As Pelech winds in. Here's Sanderson, pokes it around to Zoo. That's knocked down by Pelech. In comes Stützle along with Gregg. That's poke checked away by Dobson. Stützle back on it. Works that free, sends it back, and a hard shot taken in by Giroux. And a stop by Varlamov. Now Giroux trying to work it free. Zoo feeds that down to Stützle. A bouncing puck in front. And Tkachuk couldn't quite reach that. Now Batherson for Stützle. He hammered that wide. Just missed. What a play on the feed from Batherson.
And you know what? He had a wide open net. He went and grabbed it and threw it towards the net quickly. He just healed it. Missed on the glove side.
Now Tkachuk knocks it down. Islanders have gone more than 9 minutes without a shot here in the second period. Batherson pivots but falls, and Dobson has it back. Up to center ice, knocked down by Palmieri. In comes Palmieri, shoots, and Korpisalo makes the stop on that.
And Stützle looked pretty good.
Off the drop, Palmieri turned away again by Korpisalo. Chychrun tied up by Lee. Kastelik for Kelly. Up head to Bernard Docker. And Bernard Docker walks in. Plays it back around. Romanov goes back for it. Tkachuk steps into him. Kept alive with the line. by Chychrun. Long shot by Kelly. Stopped by Varlamov. Rebound sat there for a moment. Now Kelly tries to seal the wall. Tied up there by Lee. Paslick trying to work it free. Puck over the head of Chychrun. Pajot in a race with Bernard Docker. Pajot wins the race. Centers it. Palmieri shoots. Scores! He sneaks it by Korpisalo, and the Islanders lead again. And Palmieri took a long look after taking the shot. Not sure it went in.
Slid through the 5-0. Now, foot race. Pajot slides it over. He's got to take it from backhand to forehand, and you see it's just an awkward save selection by Korpisalo. It sneaks through the 5-hole, and it's in the back of the net, but I don't think everybody saw it go in. That's why the delayed reaction from everybody, but clearly went in. He elevated a little bit 5-hole, and late in the second period, Palmieri, who's had the last 3 shots on goal for the Islanders, converts that one.
That's 6 goals his last 7 games, 21 of the year. He had a hat trick against Tampa for the Islanders, and a big goal here late in this second period. In comes Joseph on it now. Matthew Joseph. The Holmstrom. Engvall. Is that kicked away? And here's Sanderson with it. Clutterbuck. Lays it back out. Romanov plays it back in. Martin back after it. And Gannett got clipped with a high stick there behind the net. 2.5 to go here in the second. Islanders have regained the lead.
Let you guys work this free again. Fucking still free.
Now a centering pass, not right on goal there, a good chance for McLean turned away. You can hear Kelly Sutherland, the referee, talking to the players, and he's one of the most communicative referees there is. As Stützle winds in, shoveled that through the crease.
And he was saying, I can see it's free, let it play. And
I'll let you guys sort this out.
The Islanders got 2 good chances off of it.
And Matt Martin fires it in. In comes Stützle. Feeds it back across the Panthers, and a backhand shot goes wide. So Tkachuk, Panthers, and Stützle back together here for the moment. And now Pinto comes on for Stützle. Pelech up for Nelson. Brock Nelson trying to dig it free. Back at the 20, goes to Barzal. Neat flip pass across to Pelech. Pelech shoots, and Korpisalo makes the stop on that. There's Sanderson back with it. Sanderson rink wide. He finds a Stapchuk for his first NHL point. A Stapchuk banks that back to Zub. Zub shoots. Varlamov save. But thanks to everyone. Our producer Sam Cicerello, Dr. Scott Petro, our statistician John Perlberg, graphics operator Ron Harrison, Eric Buckus, EBS, Sean Taylor, the truck supervisor, Tom Clark. Now Giroux plays it back across. That shot by Sanderson is blocked by Lee. He gets it right back. Big Sanderson shoots again. That's tipped wide. Good deflection in front by Gregg. Gregg back on it. Gregg with Stützle and Giroux, the forward line for Ottawa. Pulock drops it back, and there's Palmieri, another shot. Detroit's taking a 2-1 lead on Buffalo in the second period. And Detroit and the Islanders tied for the last playoff spot. In the East is that hard shot by Horvat, kicked away by Korpisalo. Pelech plays it back across. Dobson shoots, bouncing puck in front, knocked away by Pinto. Time winding down here in the period. Barzal pivots away from Pinto. Shoots him a sharp angle. Korpisalo steered that away. Rebound goes to Horvat. Horvat plays it back. Dobson a long shot. And Pinto goes after it. Ottawa tied it up earlier in the period. The goal by Brady Tkachuk. But the Islanders strike late on the goal by Palmieri.
That you were going to do that, so I don't know. I mean, now we...
Now you make it worse. Thanks. Otters lead chips it in as the teams begin The third period, 5-on-5. Ottawa just 3 wins in the last 15 meetings against the Islanders as Batherson works in. Islanders have won both games this year. In comes Palmieri on Jake Sanderson, who takes that away. He defends so well with his feet. Jake Sanderson, such an effortless skater, just takes pucks away.
Yeah. Such a great skater. That's the thing. He defends with his feet. Now he puts himself in a great position to turn that puck over.
In comes Stutzla, and Dobson shoots, and Dobson took that wide. Greg back out there, centering pass, and Giroux hammered that wide, and Giroux barks at himself as that puck just missed.
He healed on, it rolled on him at the last second, but he was in good position. The puck was just ahead of him a little bit.
Now Bernard Docker back for it. Stutzla up ahead to Greg. Again, Detroit still ahead of Buffalo 2-1. The third period just starting there in Detroit. The Islanders and the Red Wings tied for the last playoff spot entering play today. The Islanders with 1 game in hand on the Red Wings. Out to center ice, Zizekas flips that back down to the Ottawa zone where it's knocked down by Korpisalo. Now picked up by Holmstrom. Leaves it back for Zizekas. And it bounces back to Aho. Now the Red Wings play each other one more time later this week in Detroit. But Patrick Roy's got his team in contention for a playoff spot. They reeled off that 6-game winning streak before they lost back-to-back shutout defeats.
Anytime you can reel off 6 wins in a row, obviously it helps you climb the standings, but it helps with your confidence as well.
Parker Kelly plays that back in deep to Kastelik. And Kastelik winds in. Rolled off his stick. Gannett holds the line. Plays it back down to Tkachuk. And Kelly goes hunting for it on Riley. Riley, a former Ottawa center, had that taken away. Now Prince from his shot. Varlamov got a piece of that. Now Gannett in deep. Ottawa changing as Batherson comes on. That shot by Gannett deflected right on goal. Varlamov to save on that.
A couple good push shifts here for the Ottawa Senators to start the third period. And Branson, you're right, just missed the last second. I think Varlamov did get a little chunk of it, but that was a screen shot from the point as Kastelik was in the eyes of the goaltender.
Now Pinto flips that down. Batherson tied up. And Palmieri plays it ahead. Bouncing puck, got it behind Sanderson. He picked up that rolling puck and poked that ahead to Pinto. Pinto up for Batherson. Rink wide to Tkachuk. In he comes, he shoots, and Varlamov got just a piece of that.
He's a force every time he's on the ice.
Horvat wins that face-off. I mentioned the big acquisition by Lou Lamoriello last season. He signed to a contract extension with Lamoriello. Instantly pronounced was too much money and too much term. Welcome to the Islanders. Oh, you're going to love it here.
He says that every time, which says it about every contract, but it is tough when you're celebrating a signing and then you back it up with, hey, it's too much money, too much term, but you know, we're happy that he's here.
I always picture Lou as the father of the bride. You know? That's a great one. It cost too much, though.
Yeah.
In comes Sanderson. Drops it back. For Batherson, that pass misfire for him. Here's Tkachuk back on it. And Barzal steps into him. Back is Bernard Docker. To Pinto. In for Batherson. Shane Pinto racing after it. In on Aho. And Holmstrom has it back. Simon Holmstrom. 13 goals on the year for Holmstrom. 5 of them scored shorthanded. Played back.
Some guys' minutes go up, some guys' minutes go down just based on previous coach. They all have their favorites.
Right. Well, the one thing it does, it kind of puts everyone on notice, right?
Exactly.
I mean, all of a sudden, you don't have the equity with the coach that you might have had. And especially Patrick Roy, who is mercurial behind the bench.
Yeah, he's not shy to be aggressive with it. Speak his mind. He's Very stubborn coach in a positive way.
Now picked up by Engvall. Reaches back and centers it. Holmstrom had that knocked away by Joseph. Back of the line is Pulock, drops it off. Holmstrom shot it, got through. Korpisalo makes the save. Rebound loose in front. Flipped out by Chychrun.
Little seeing eye shot there. Good save by Korpisalo, and he's able to track the rebound. And Chychrun's just going to relieve pressure by popping it out to the neutral zone as the Islanders looking for a push to try and expand their lead.
In comes Parker Kelly. Tries to shoot. Aho got in the way of that. The shooter tried to dig that free. And a hard shot by Gannett. Turned away by Varlamov. Back goes Brandstrom to pick it up. Brandstrom pivots back. Being watched by Clutterbuck, who knocked him out of a game here earlier this year. Aho goes back. Paslico got there quickly enough to negate the icing. Brandstrom collides with Palmieri. They're both down. And Palmieri slowly gets to his feet. He and Brandstrom both limping off the ice.
That was a heavy collision. I don't think either one of them saw each other.
Skipping puck, and Korpisalo had to be careful with that. Now Giroux. Crisp pass ahead to Zoo. Up ahead for Gregg. Ridley Gregg works in, feeds it across, back for Gregg, they score! Gregg to Stützle, back to Gregg to the back of the net. What a beautiful goal for Ottawa. The game is tied at 2.
This is all about transition. Now Ridley Gregg gets this puck, and Stützle is wide open on the back door, and it's a 2-on-0 essentially. Pass through the middle of the ice. Zub is going to expand it, and Gregg gets behind Pelech. And then what a pass back from Tim Stützle. A little give and go. Whoop. Varlamov pushes across, and that's to test the flexibility on that one. But
Ridley Gregg's first goal in his last 16 games by Ottawa in the third period, much as they did against the Blue Jackets on Thursday.
Yes, big response here. Give up that goal late. They didn't love it as Korpisalo, but guys went and tapped him on the pads, and they've certainly had a response here early in the third period. They've been the better team, the more hungry team in the first 7 minutes.
Romanov plays it back to center ice, knocked down by Zoo. Lead pass to Batherson. Jake Batherson winds in. That's poked away by Pelech. Up for Barzal. And brought out now by Pinto. Shane Pinto winds in. Vorkachuk drops that back in the high slot. Chychrun is shot, and Varlamov makes the save. Long shooting knocked away by Korpisalo. And Bernard Docker back for it. Stützle and Zub draw the assist. On the goal, sends it back in front, tipped wide by Engvall, who stretched out for that and just missed it. Holmstrom shoots from a sharp angle, got through. Korpisalo the save, and he quickly grabs the rebound. With Claude Giroux and Tim Stützle for Ottawa, now back at the point. Long shot by Riley, deflects wide. You mentioned Ridley Gregg made his NHL debut against the Islanders. He had 8 shots in that game. At times the record for the most shots by a player in his NHL debut. And Jake Sanderson taken down by Anders Lee, and Sanderson is injured. Now a melee breaks out, but Jake Sanderson's down for Ottawa. And right away, Dom Nicoletta comes out. The referee, Kelly Sutherland, right away called for help from the Ottawa bench.
This is not good. You could tell immediately Sanderson was in some pain as he dropped down. There was a collision along the wall.
And you worry here about a skate cut, the way he's grabbing his leg, but
the net, so he's going to absorb the puck.
So it's Anders Lee's stick kind of comes down awkwardly on his ankle.
We hope that it's just a little bit of a stinger that he can shake off, but he'll get attended to here, as you mentioned. The
back end as Pinto digs over the faceoff and wins it away from Horvat. Chychrun lifts that to center ice. Out up by Pulock. Now Palmieri on it. Lines that back at the point. It's Knocked away from Romanov by Batherson. Here's Chychrun with it. Lays it back ahead for Batherson. He's tied up there by Pulock. Those two go battling for the puck behind the goal. Picked up now by Tkachuk. Throws it back in front. That's cued wide by Pinto. Now Barzal off the glass by Branson. Another back down the ice. And Branson was shaken up a moment ago as well.
Yeah, he had the collision with Palmieri in the neutral zone.
Here's Dobson. Up ahead to Martin, who chips that back down to the Ottawa zone. Joseph goes back for it. Matthew Joseph pivots back. Looks for Kubalik. And played back in by Pelech. Martin slides that back. Dobson shoots. That's blocked. He gets it right back. Noah Dobson for sharp angle fires that wide. Here's Pelech back with it. Adam Pelech. To Martin, a long shot. Blocked by Branson and sent back out. It was Martin who opened the scoring in the first period for the Islanders. And now Brandstrom has it back. Ottawa changing as Brandstrom pivots back and drops it back for Sanderson, who's right back out there.
That's a good sign.
Wow.
Just a little bit of a stinger.
Catholic throws that wide. Even if Sanderson's only at 80%, he's probably as fast as anyone on the ice.
Agreed. Looks like he's laboring a little bit, or at least testing it out, but he seems to be fine with his lateral movement.
Now Zubs handles there with Cizikas. And Sanderson races to it. Lifts out to center. Tkachuk with it. Get bumped there by Cizikas. And now Holmstrom swings it back down to the Ottawa zone. Korpisalo out to play it. Ottawa's been in a ton of close games lately.
Yes.
Of course, the last two have gone past regulation. Stutz a little behind the back. Flips it back in, but it goes off that curved stanchion. Stützle gives Anders Lee a shove there. Now Pulock sends it ahead, but Chychrun knocks it down. Here's Bernard Docker. Out to center ice, chipped in by Gregg. And back goes Pulock with Giroux on him. And Giroux worked that free for a moment. Pajot has to hustle back to pick it up. Now, Gregg works that free. Back to Stützle, long shot by Chychrun is blocked. And Barzal has it back. Puts that high in the air. And Bernard Docker goes back. Picked out by Barzal. Horvat was alone in front. Couldn't get the puck, and now Dobson plays it back in. Here's Tkachuk. Just tried to hammer that over to Batherson. The pass missed.
Gets in the back end.
Off the face-off, drop back to Dobson, shoots! And that fluttered off the stick of Stützle.
At the NHL level and gaining that experience.
Horvat wins it back to Dobson, the pass picked up. Lead pass for Tkachuk, just skipped by him. Or Brady Tkachuk wasn't alone. And that goes up and out, and this will be a penalty on the Islanders.
Little chip through the neutral zone by Batherson, trying to get it to Tkachuk. It goes through his glove, looking for options of physicality, and there's the chip. Dobson gets just a little bit too much underneath it and sends it straight out, so the Sens got an opportunity to get ahead in this game on the power play.
They're 2 for the last 21 on the power play, but they're facing the worst penalty-killing team in the NHL. Stützle back across. Tkachuk shoots at the goalpost. The goal light came on for a moment, but Tkachuk hit the pipe. Stützle back for Tkachuk, fires, scores! This time it's in! And the Ottawa Senators have grabbed their first lead.
Well, this, right from the drop of the puck on the power play, they gained possession. They executed a couple good looks. One hits the post.
Through the middle of the ice. There's the initial offering off the post. Batherson tries with a little short hop, works into the half wall against Stützle. And Tkachuk just turns on this and beats Varlamov on the glove side for his second of the game. A little give and go here. That opened up the diamond formation. You stick with it right back to the middle of the ice, and that hits the stick.
So the Islanders suddenly are facing down a difficult situation. They could find themselves out of the top 8 an hour from now.
Well, it is absolutely, but every night, as we mentioned, it's going to be scoreboard watching, and the Islanders are in one right now. As you mentioned, Detroit 2 goals up.
Islanders have a game in hand on the Red Wings. Back at the point. Bridge from a long shot. Knocked out by Varlamov. Picked free by Batherson. Spins away from Riley. Well, backhand shot rolls wide. And here is Aho with it. Ottawa changing now so the Islanders penalty killing bites them again. Ranked 32nd in the league.
Yeah, honestly, that penalty kill is so. We've got great goaltending. We've got so much that you would think that would have the ingredients for a penalty kill. Last in the National Hockey League is perplexing.
Pelech feeds it across to Pulock. Back to Pelech. So the Senators for the second straight game have come back trailing in the third period. Now bouncing puck, loose in front, knocked away by Sanderson. And Joseph has it back, banks it back around to Jake Sanderson. Moves it back across to Zub. In comes Stützle. Gets a step on Pelech. Stützle still with it, throws it back in front and just missed the stick of Ridley Gregg.
Some good speed by Tim Stützle. I like that he turns the corner and uses his legs to drive towards the net.
Rangers tomorrow. Then home to Carolina, at Detroit. And they got Winnipeg the game after that. So a tough run of top-end opponents for the Islanders coming up.
Yep. Certainly not going to be an easy road for them.
They're trying to avoid a third straight regulation loss. Bouncing puck, Korpisalo, great save on Engvall. And the rebound cleared by Giroux.
What a save by Korpisalo. And look at the speed by Tim Stützle.
Negates the icing as he wins that race with Romanov. Now poke check at center ice by Tkachuk. Chips it back in. And Kelly goes after it on Aho. A good job on the forecheck there by Tkachuk and Kelly. And Kastelik blocks that clearing attempt. Back out to center ice. Now back on Aho. Ranges back for it. Pulock up for Clutterbuck, chips that wide as Zub goes back for it. And Martin, big hit on Zub. Clutterbuck walks in and shoots, and Korpisalo makes the save on him. And on Matt Martin's in it with Brady Tkachuk.
You know Brady's not going to back down from him, and Matt Martin, a seasoned veteran. That line, Matt Martin, as you pointed out, Gord, they've been doing it for years on the forecheck.
Face-off win there by Pinto against Horvat, and the puck goes back to the point to Riley. Riley moves in and slings that around. Racing to his Tkachuk. That was poked away from him. Brock Nelson back on. Horvat tied up by Pinto. Now Tkachuk has it back. Plays it up for Batherson. And again, Patrick was very aggressive, taking the goalie out.
Yes.
We're down 3 when he pulled the netminder against Buffalo, but he tends to pull goaltenders earlier than most.
Yeah,
went down 1 in the third.
He's aggressive with that, and what that does, though, it opens the door to get an empty netter as well if you can gain possession.
Here's Giroux back on it. That lead pass was broken up by Lee. Anders Lee winds in, drops it back to Barzal. Barzal drops it back. A long shot. Blocked in front. Korpisalo makes the save in tight on Lee. Played back across to Barzal. That Barzal winds in. Korpisalo down. The centering pass missed. Held by Pulock at the line. Aho feeds it back to Barzal. Now Barzal had a stick knocked out of his hands by Stützle. And the crowd hollering about that. Barzal back across to Lee. It skipped off his stick. Ridley Gregg has it back. Backhands it high in the air, down the ice. Icing waved off. Pulock couldn't milk that into an icing call.
Just almost to walk his way back. Couldn't get the icing call.
Took the most indirect route possible. Maxence Gannett goes back as Engvall stepped into him. A stop check out there again. inside 3 to go in a 1-goal game for Ottawa. That's a feather in the cap for the coaching staff.
Certainly is. It shows some trust and gives him an opportunity to gain some valuable experience here down the stretch.
Kelly tied up. Cizikas in there for checking. 2.5 to go. Back at the point is Riley. Tees up and shoots, and Korpisalo knocked that away with a blocker. No sign yet from Waugh to Varlamov. Riley swings it back to Engvall. Engvall spins and shoots, and through the traffic, Korpisalo kicks that away. Here's Pelech on it. Varlamov inching out, but remains in the net for now. It's just put free by Matthew Joseph. And a penalty coming now to Ottawa. Matthew Joseph's going to get called here. And so Varlamov does go to the Islander bench for the extra attacker. Now the bouncing puck goes wide. Ottawa only had 4 skaters on the ice there for a moment. And now Joseph will get called with 1:50 to go.
There's a little holding the stick by the captain and Brock Nelson, no problem.
Halfway to the Islander bench. We'll see if the Islanders gain possession here. They do. Off goes Varlamov to the bench. On comes the extra skater, it's Lee. Drop back, Dobson a hard shot. Korpisalo save. And it's played back down to the Islander blue line. Here's Dobson with it. Brock Nelson leads the Islanders with 9 power play goals this year. Horvat plays it in. He's got 8, so does Palmieri. Barzal works it back out. Matt Barzal slides that back to Dobson. Tees it back up for Nelson. Nelson to Dobson, shoots. Korpisalo saved, there's no rebound. Loud. With 1 two-man advantage goal this year. They've not allowed a goal 6-on-4 yet this year. In comes Barzal across the line. Final minute now, the 3rd period. Ottawa trailed 1-0 and 2-1, has come back to equalize twice, and now take the lead in the 3rd period. Picked off by Horvat. Plays it back down to Barzal. Matt Barzal pivots away from Giroux. Walks right in. Feeds that back to Dobson across the Horvat. Hard shot, score! Bo Horvat power play goal, and the game is tied at 3 with 37 seconds left in the 3rd period.
And he got all of this. There he is with the rotation. Barzal pulls it off the boards. Stop back, and then in the bumper position. He wants that puck back to the point, and then all of it. That goes through Parker Kelly. He tries to get in the lane to block it at the last second. Wanting to mirror that. You see it goes between the legs of Parker Kelly, and the coach loves it.
Well, the Islanders ties this game at 3. It's now 4-1 Red Wings at home against Buffalo. So at the very least, the Islanders have gotten themselves a point here this afternoon that they desperately need.
That's a critical point.
Now picked up by Engvall. Swings that back to Pelech. Shoots. That was blocked by Bernard Docker and rolls back down the ice. This is though Ottawa's going to go to overtime for the 3rd consecutive game. As the Islanders get the late tying goal from Horvat on the power play. And it's off to overtime we go. Detroit has beaten Buffalo, so for now, the Red Wings are ahead of the Islanders, who are out of the top 8 in the Eastern Conference momentarily. It's Giroux, Stützle, and Sanderson for Ottawa. Horvat, Barzal, and Pelech for the Islanders. And in comes Jake Sanderson, along with Giroux. Sanderson works it back in front. Barzal picks that off. And the Islanders are back the other way. Here's Horvat with it, along with Barzal. Horvat back across to Matt Barzal. Winds in and holds. Barzal crisscrossing with Dobson. Shoots, and Korpisalo makes the stop on that. Drops it down to Stützle. Bo Horvat has 3 overtime goals this year for the Islanders. And now Stützle racing to it. He's got a couple of overtime winners for Ottawa.
I'd like to see a little risk reward out there. You know Patrick Roy is going to tell his guys to go for it.
Dobson lead pass for Palmieri. And Chychrun took him down. Now Tkachuk is tripped. And Brady Tkachuk has it back. Looks ahead for Pinto. Now slides it up for Chychrun. In comes Chychrun. Walks right in. Drops it off for Pinto. For Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk shoots. Stopped by Varlamov. He wasn't sure he had it. And now Palmieri knocks it down for the Islanders. Both teams changing. Holmstrom out there now for the Islanders. That pass misfired, and Brandstrom's back to pick it up. He's out there with Batherson and Joseph. Away comes Matthew Joseph. Up ahead to Batherson. Drake Batherson winds in. Batherson works it back in front. Poke check there by Varlamov. Batherson had the overtime winner against Pittsburgh last Tuesday.
He had a lane with the long reach. He got a little help from Noah Dobson, but tried to get the goaltender to bite on the short side.
And now Dobson steps out as both teams change. Lead pass to Barzal in with Horvat. In comes Matt Barzal. Shoots, and Korpisalo gets just a piece of that. Picked out now by Giroux. He's poke checked by Barzal. And Sanderson ranges back to pick it up. Banks it back across to Stützle. Giroux drops it off to Stützle, winding in, gets around Horvat, feeds it back to Giroux. Off the bench comes Chychrun. Giroux feeds it back to Stützle. Stützle back to Chychrun. Back across to Giroux. Chychrun holds, flips it back to Stützle. He'll try Horvat, and Stützle gathers it back up. Holds the line, slides it in. Oh, just off the stick of Giroux. Now, holding the line with Stützle against Horvat. Penalty coming now. It's going to be Paul Horvat who goes off. And so Stützle picks it up. Korpisalo to the Ottawa bench. On comes Tkachuk. Stützle walks in, taken down there by Riley. But with 1:55 to go in overtime, Ottawa is going to the power play.
Oh, Horvat's going to sit. He doesn't like the call.
New York Islanders penalty number 14, 2-minute minor for holding.
And Horvat slams his stick in disgust and breaks it. And the referee, Brandon Baldina, comes over and warns him about that. Tkachuk wins the face-off back to Giroux. Works it back across to Batherson. 4 forwards on the Ottawa power play. Giroux trying to center it, and it was off the stick into the meshing and not applied. And now Tkachuk and Pulock are into it in front of the Islander net. And Tkachuk works it free. Cut it there by Pelech. Batherson comes in. Pelech was knocked down. And now picked free by Pajot. And he'll slide that back down the ice. And away comes Giroux. Low Giroux drops that back for Stützle. To Giroux, chipped across to Tkachuk for Batherson. Ottawa gets set up. Giroux winds that back to Stützle. Back across to Giroux. Giroux back for Stützle. Has a look. Feeds across, and a hard shot by Batherson. Turned away by Varlamov, and a rebound sent down the ice by Pulock.
A great save by Varlamov with the right pad. That's his best of the game as Giroux got it away quickly.
Final minute now, overtime. In comes Tkachuk to Batherson. Back across to Giroux. Feeds it down. Tkachuk fanning that shot at the side of the goal, and now Pelech sends it down the ice.
You can tell the ice is a little bit chippy there. A lot of snow out there. Tkachuk tried to roll his wrist and get it to the net. He bobbled on it.
Lead pass to Pinto with Tkachuk. Here comes Tkachuk. He scores! Brady Tkachuk! The overtime winner is his hat-trick goal. And the Ottawa Senators come back again and win it 4-3.
And what a pass by Shane Pinto. This was a rocket. Tape to tape. Bo Horvat voicing his displeasure on the penalty in overtime, but this is a tough pass to settle down if you're Tkachuk, and he's in stride, takes it on his forehand and turns it, and he's able to beat Varlamov.
His 30th goal of the year, his 3rd career hat trick.
And Stützle's going to kick it wide, and then look at that pass by Pinto to get it through a seam right onto the stick of Tkachuk. He takes it cross body, corrals it, settles it down, and then goes short side on Varlamov to end the game. And there's your dagger, game-winning goal. The hat-trick goal for the captain, getting it done.
He had 2 goals in 14 games coming in, but the hat trick on a Saturday afternoon against the Islanders. Ottawa avoids a sweep of the season series. And Brady Tkachuk sends another goaltender home unhappy.